Hi everyone, and please press subscribe to my channel so you'll be notified when the videos come up. And thanks so much for everybody who has subscribed already and continues to share my videos. I'm very appreciative of all your support. Today I want to speak about Simon Harris, who was given a kid gloves interview, unsurprisingly, by one of RTE's chief propagandists, Clare Byrne, member of the 1% herself. Now this was interesting because, of course, these interviews, it's not what they tell you, it's what they don't tell you in these interviews and what they don't get to the nub of the issues. Now, a range of issues were discussed with Simon Harris, from Trump, government formation across the Storm Elwyn, and issues around housing. Now, let's get into a little bit of the detail on this and let's explain what RTE did not talk about during this interview. They spoke about the programme for government with Michael Lowry as a kingmaker. Of course, we've seen the charade over the last number of weeks with the regional independent group pretending they're not a government and now looking for speaking time, and that kicked off a big row, and now we've seen it fall back into the way it was before. Michael Lowry himself is still looking for speaking time and wants to support the government, not as a government backbencher, in a letter that he wrote to the Count Corla, Verona Murphy. And he will not support the government on a case-by-case basis. He is a fully signed-up member, an orchestrator, an organiser and kingmaker in this coalition. And what's interesting with this is the other three TDs who are supporting the government and part of the government are claiming they will now support the government on a case-by-case basis. That's Barry Heenahan, Danny Healy-Rae and Gillian Toole. And what's fascinating with this and the interview that was given is that no discussion was made of any sort of side deal that was done with Michael Lowry. Of course, Michael Lowry will claim that he will get every kind of improvements to his region because of the deals he's done with government. But let's see how that develops, because I'm sure there was a side deal done with Michael Lowry. Interestingly enough, Simon Harris also said that he supported the findings of the Moriarty Tribunal. So fundamentally, he's happy to do business with a profoundly corrupt Michael Lowry, and that was mentioned by Judge Moriarty in his summation of that tribunal. Now, what's interesting with this is that Harris again will do anything for power, much the same as Micheál Martin, and it all is a complete charade. Now, what's interesting also with this is in terms of the government's majority. With the move of 95 TDs, for instance, who are at the level to push the government to a stable government that Harris wants, and he wants a sizable majority. And what's interesting with this is that formally it's only 91. This is just, you couldn't make this nonsense up. And also, let's throw this into the mix. Maddie McGrath and Carol Nolan have also written letters to say they will support the government on case-by-case basis also. So where do we go? Lanigan's ball? You really could not make the farce of Irish politics up. And of course we know it is all a Punch and Judy show, because fundamentally they get their power and orders from Brussels. Now, what's also interesting with the discussion that Clare Byrne gave with Harris was about the issues with Donald Trump. Now, of course, Harris called Trump an awful gal back in 2020. And he said he had a 30-minute conversation when Trump was elected a number of months ago. And of course, that mention of the awful gal did not come up in that conversation. And he said he would go to the USA for St. Patrick's Day. Interestingly enough, the Irish government have not received an invitation yet to St. Patrick's Day. I'm sure Micheál Martin might be getting a little bit worried about not attending to hand over a ceremonial bowl of shamrock to Donald Trump on St. Patrick's Day. But let's see how that develops. That's going to be a big junket fest for many of those government ministers who are going to be jumping all around the place, of course, at our expense. And what's also fascinating with this interview was the discussion around the storm and the response to the storm. He said that the ESB Chief Executive Officer, Paddy Hayes, who's on over €318,000 per year, I'll remind you, he said remarks that people will pay for the consequences of Storm Elwyn. Now, not to mention, still about 10 or 12,000 people are still without power in Ireland, 2 weeks on from the storm. And he said the priority was for people to get their power back. Now, Harris didn't say the priority was to look for compensation, scrap the public service obligation, scrap the standing order for people without power. No, he said they will be part of discussions into the future, and he cannot commit to any of those. He said the priority is to get your power back. and pay through the nose for it. And also Harris said that he would look at charges working with partners into the future. Of course, when it's all about the big energy providers, it's all about their profits and their profits for the oligarchs rather than the interests of ordinary people. They can't move fast enough to support big business. Remember the bank bailout, remember the energy credits. That's all about propping up the big energy providers and their profits rather than serving the needs of citizens of Ireland. But of course, Clare Byrne would not challenge him on that because that's untouchable for the RTE propagandist in chief. And he also spoke about the housing targets. There was issues arose during the week that the government in the election campaign said that 40,000 houses would be complete by the end of 2024. This was found to be a complete and utter lie because just over 30,000 homes were complete last year. And Harris admitted that he'd received those figures from the Department of Housing. That's Del Boy himself, Darragh O'Brien, who's now moved to the Minister for Transport and Climate. And of course, that is another scandal in itself with the privatisation and the ghost bus services that are running everywhere, but wherever people need them when they want to travel to school and college. But of course, this is the charade and the facade of Irish politics and the farce of the interviews on the national broadcaster by Clare Byrne, as I said, a member of the 1%. There was no hard questions asked of Harris. It was a friendly chat with two pals and two members of the corrupt establishment. Ireland needs a radical shift from this. Ireland needs independent media. It needs people to speak out on what's going on and cut through the spin and waffle that they try and present as fact. Let's give them an alternative. Let's give people the real news. So please support my channel. Please share my videos and please press subscribe. And thanks so much for all the support with all of my videos and take care. Slán.